All right, so you guys requested a deep dive on a real classic, a 90s disaster flick,
Oh, nice.
Daylight. And, over in Spain, it's called Pánico en el Túnel. Just a little fun fact for you.
Love it.
And,
Yeah,
I mean, we all know Sylvester Stallone.
sure.
Right. He's great at getting out of tough situations.
Mm-hmm.
And this time, it's a collapsed tunnel. Now, we could just give you a simple review,
Right.
but that's not what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Right? We're going to unpack what makes this movie tick, what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And ultimately, is it still worth watching today?
One of the things that makes Daylight, I think, stand out from a
Okay.
lot of disaster movies is just how quickly they throw you into the chaos.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're talking first half hour, bam, explosion, tunnel collapse.
Right.
We're in survival mode.
Like they don't even give you any time to breathe. It's like, boom, you're in it.
Just throws you right in.
That first explosion, I was like, oh, here we go.
And it really grabs you.
Yeah.
As a viewer, that intensity. But what it does is it sacrifices character development
Yeah.
for that immediate adrenaline rush.
So for you as the viewer, does it matter?
Right.
Do you need to know those characters? Or are you just like, just give me the action. I want to see stuff blow up.
It's choice.
Right.
Right. And Daylight chooses the spectacle.
Yeah.
So speaking of spectacle, got to talk about the man himself, Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
Kit Latura, former EMS chief,
Mm-hmm.
our hero.
He's got that Stallone intensity.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you can't deny it. And honestly, I believed him.
Yeah.
You know, I felt like, okay, he can handle this. Does he bring something unique to this kind of role?
Stallone, he has this gravitas.
Yeah.
And he brings this believability to the role. Even when things get a little over the top, you're like, okay, Stallone's got this. But,
Uh-huh.
and here's the interesting part.
Okay.
A lot of the supporting characters around him
Yeah.
fall into those classic disaster movie tropes.
Right.
You got the panicked cop, the terrified family,
Right.
the selfish guy looking out for number one.
Yeah. It's like they're all kind of one-dimensional a little bit.
Yeah.
So is he carrying this movie?
It puts a lot on Stallone's shoulders, right?
Yeah.
For better or for worse.
Yeah.
So let's shift gears a bit.
Okay.
Talk about the action itself.
Oh, okay.
Daylight has some pretty intense sequences. We got near drownings, tunnel collapses,
Mm-hmm.
and who can forget that giant ventilation fan?
That fan, I felt claustrophobic just watching that. It
Yeah.
was like, oh, get me out of there.
The director, Rob Cohen, does a great job
Yeah.
of using that confined space of the tunnel
Uh-huh.
to ratchet up the suspense.
Yeah.
You know, every narrow passageway, every flooded section, there's danger around every corner.
Right.
But does it get repetitive?
That's a good question. Because it is a confined space. It's like, how many times can you run through a tunnel?
Right. So do those thrilling sequences, do they still deliver? Even if they become a little formulaic?
Yeah. Huh?
Or does it kind of take away from it?
It's that line, right, between using the setting effectively and then just falling into the same old,
Right.
disaster movie tropes.
It depends on what you're looking for.
Mm.
But one area Daylight really shines is its commitment to practical effects.
See, this is where it gets interesting.
Yeah.
Because we're talking 1996,
Mhm.
right?
Mm.
CGI was becoming the thing.
Right on the cusp.
Yeah.
But Daylight goes all in on practical effects.
Mm-hmm.
And that means they built these incredible sets, detailed tunnel sets.
Yeah.
They use miniatures for the explosions, real smoke, real water.
You can feel it. You can feel the danger.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's right there in your face.
It really impacts the viewing experience, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. It's that realism. It's that grittiness. You're
Yeah.
right there in the tunnel with them.
And it brings up the question, does it make Daylight feel timeless?
Ooh, good question.
Does it hold up better because of that?
Yeah.
Compared to the movies that were using more CGI at the time.
It almost feels like a throwback, right?
Well, yeah.
To like an older style of filmmaking.
It does.
Then maybe that's why it still works today.
Maybe.
So let's move away from that. Let's talk about some of the themes.
Okay.
Because it's not just an action movie, right?
It's not all just spectacle.
It's not just explosions and running.
There's some interesting themes,
Oh.
particularly bravery and redemption.
Uh-huh.
You see Latura kind of grappling with his past mistakes while he's risking everything to save the lives of these strangers.
It's like he's trying to redeem himself.
Yeah,
Not just for them, but for himself too.
absolutely.
Right. What do you make of that? What does that do to the movie?
I mean, it adds complexity
Yeah.
to what could have been a very one-dimensional action hero.
Right.
He's not just some fearless superhuman.
Yeah.
You know, he's a guy, he's haunted by his past.
Yeah.
He's trying to make things right. And it's more than just survival.
Yeah.
You know, for him, it's about atonement.
It adds weight to it, right?
Everything.
It's like every action he takes, it has this extra meaning because we know he's fighting on two fronts, right?
Yeah.
He's fighting the tunnel, but he's also fighting his own demons.
It's a double battle.
It is.
Yeah.
So does that elevate it beyond your typical disaster movie?
Ooh, that's the question.
Right. Does it need that? Or is it enough to just have the spectacle?
Right. Do you need the layers?
Yeah.
Or is the adrenaline enough?
Yeah.
It's an interesting question. Some viewers want that depth,
Yeah.
while others are totally fine with just that rush of the disaster.
Yeah.
But even with those themes,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't shy away from those classic disaster movie tropes.
Yeah. You're right. It's like they're trying to give you both.
It's a balancing act.
And speaking of balance,
Okay.
you know, one of the criticisms I've heard about this movie
Mm-hmm.
is the pacing and the predictability. It does tend to follow that.
You know it's coming.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, we get it.
You know the structure.
Sure, we know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it does keep you on the edge of your seat, but it's like,
It's like a roller coaster. You know there are going to be ups and downs and twists and turns.
Yeah.
But you know the general layout.
yeah,
So for some viewers, that's comforting,
right.
right? They know what to expect.
Yeah,
But then some people might want something more original,
right.
some surprises.
Yeah.
So as someone who likes a good disaster movie, what do you think?
I think it depends on what you're in the mood for,
Mm-hmm.
right? Sometimes you want that movie that's going to surprise you,
Yeah.
that's going to challenge you. You don't know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
But sometimes
Sometimes you just want the ride.
you just want that familiar ride. And I
Yeah.
think Daylight is that.
Daylight is that ride.
It is that familiar ride.
It delivers on the promise of a 90s disaster flick. You got the high-stakes action. You got your lone hero against impossible odds.
Yeah.
Race against time.
Yeah.
Classic.
Totally. It's the formula.
And it does it well.
It does it well.
The action's good. The effects are good. And Stallone is, he's the anchor
Yeah.
that holds it all together.
He does.
Even with the predictable structure,
Yeah.
they create these moments of suspense.
You're still holding your breath even though you kind of know what's coming.
You know it's coming, but you're still like,
Yeah, totally. But, it's interesting. It does make you think about modern disaster movies.
for sure.
Like, how has the genre changed?
It's a time capsule, right?
It is.
You look at Daylight, you see how these movies were made before CGI took over.
You appreciate the artistry, It's like
Yeah.
they actually had to build this stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It wasn't just on a computer.
Yeah, it's tangible. And that makes you wonder, have we lost something?
Ooh, good question.
Right.
Have we lost something with the CGI?
CGI can do amazing things.
Sure.
Right.
Limitless possibilities.
But is there a rawness
yeah,
that's gone?
that grittiness.
Yeah.
And it's not just the visuals, right?
Right.
Storytelling's evolved too.
Mm-hmm.
Are the disaster movies of today more character-driven?
Yeah.
Do they explore the human impact more?
Yeah.
Or is it still about the spectacle
Yeah.
and the survival?
Those are really interesting questions.
It is.
Like, to think about when you're watching Daylight.
Look at it through a modern lens.
Yeah.
It's like a mirror to how we make movies
Mhm.
and our fascination with disaster.
It's true, it is.
So maybe watching Daylight
Yeah.
could be an experiment for you.
Okay.
Watch it.
Yeah.
Then watch a newer disaster movie.
Yeah.
Compare them.
Yeah.
What's different?
Right.
What stayed the same?
Right.
How has our idea of what a good disaster movie is changed?
It's like a case study.
Yeah.
It is. And maybe, you'll appreciate those practical effects even more.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll appreciate, that Stallone swagger a little bit more.
That old school charm.
Yeah. Maybe it's the perfect gateway to exploring, the whole genre of disaster movies.
I like that. The gateway.
Yeah. Past and present.
It's a good starting point.
So we want to hear from you.
What did you think?
What parts of Daylight
Yeah.
really connected with you? Was it the action? Was it Latura's journey?
Rex.
Was it the effects? We're really curious. Tell us. And here's something else to think about as you're watching it, or maybe even if you decide to watch it.
Right.
How has the disaster movie genre evolved since '96?
Think about the effects. We talked about Daylight being all practical.
Right.
It was all about that tangible danger.
Yeah.
But now it's CGI, right?
Yeah.
Big, bold CGI spectacle.
Yeah.
So has our appetite for destruction changed?
Mm.
Do we want more?
Yeah.
Bigger?
Yeah.
More visually spectacular?
More.
Yeah.
Or do we still want that,
Yeah.
connection to reality, that grit
Yeah.
that those practical effects can give you?
That tangible threat.
Yeah.
And it's not just about what we see.
Right.
You know, the storytelling's changed too.
Yeah.
So are the movies today more character-driven?
Right.
Do they go deeper? Or is it still just about the spectacle and survival?
Yeah. It's a good question.
I think it's a good question.
And it's something to think about as you're watching Daylight through a modern lens.
It is.
Right.
And maybe Daylight can help you explore
Yeah.
the whole disaster movie genre,
It's true.
past and present.
So tell us what you find, what you discover.
I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, because these deep dives, they're about exploring all this stuff together.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a conversation.
It is.
And your insights make it even better.
So until next time, keep those curiosity engines running.
Keep those minds open. We'll be back with another topic.
Another deep dive.
Ready to unpack it all with you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it gives him depth, you know?
All right.
It makes him more than just this, like, action figure running around.
Uh-huh.
You know, it gives him that humanity.
Yeah.
Makes his actions matter even more, I think.
Right.
Because we see what's at stake for him personally.
Yeah. Yeah. So does it make Daylight a better movie than just a straight up,
Good question.
disaster flick? Does it need that extra layer?
Right.
Or are we good with just the explosions and the...
Yeah. Is it enough to just enjoy the ride?
Yeah.
I don't know. It depends what you're looking for.
Right.
But even with those themes,
Yeah.
they still give us a good dose of those classic disaster movie tropes.
You're right. It's a balance, right? It's like, how
Yeah.
much depth do you give? How much action do you give?
Yeah. You got to find that sweet spot.
And speaking of balance,
Okay.
one of the things that people say about Daylight
Mm-hmm.
is that it can feel a little formulaic.
You know, the pacing,
Predictable.
it's predictable. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of know what's going to happen next.
You know the beats?
You do. You kind of know the beats.
Yeah.
But does that make it bad?
Well, that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
For some people, that predictability is comforting.
Right.
It's like, okay, I know where we're going. I'm strapped in. Let's go.
Yeah.
But other people want the surprises.
Right.
They want to be kept guessing.
They want to be like, whoa, I didn't see that coming.
Exactly. So for you, when you're watching a disaster movie,
Yeah.
what do you prefer?
You know what? It depends on my mood.
Okay.
Sometimes I want that surprise.
Yeah.
But sometimes I just want to, like you said, just go on the ride.
Yeah, just enjoy the ride.
And I think Daylight is that it's the just enjoy the ride kind of movie.
Daylight is definitely that.
It is.
So exactly what you're getting. It's a 90s disaster movie.
Yeah.
You got the big action. You got the hero against the odds.
It's the formula.
And they do it well. They do it well.
The action is exciting. The effects hold up.
Yeah.
And Stallone, he carried the whole thing.
He's great.
Even if it's predictable, there are still those moments that get you.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
Like, even though you know what's probably going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
you're still on the edge of your seat.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
There's something satisfying about seeing a formula done well.
Absolutely. But, it makes you think about how disaster movies have changed.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like compared to what they do now.
Right.
It's a different world.
It's a time capsule, you know?
Yeah.
Shows us how they used to make these movies.
Before CGI was everything.
Before CGI was king, yeah. You know what I mean?
You really appreciate the craft.
You do. And that makes you wonder, have we lost something?
That's the question, isn't it?
Like, in the move to all CGI, did something get lost?
This is something tangible.
Yeah, like that realness, you know?
Yeah, like that sense of...
I don't know, like, you're really there.
that it could actually happen.
It could actually happen, yeah.
Because it's not just about the effects.
Right.
It's about how they tell the story, too.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think disaster movies today are more focused on the characters?
Ooh, good question.
Like, do they spend more time on the people
Yeah.
and how they're affected?
Ooh.
Or is it still all about the big spectacle
Right.
and just surviving?
Yeah,
It's something to consider when you're watching Daylight now.
definitely.
Look at it through that modern lens, you know?
Good way to look at it.
Because it makes you think about how our tastes have changed
It's true. It is.
and how filmmaking itself has evolved.
Right.
So maybe Daylight can be like your starting point
Okay.
for a deeper dive into the whole disaster movie genre.
I like that. A starting point.
You know, you can see how it all began
Yeah.
and then how it's changed over time.
I like it. It's a good experiment.
Yeah.
It is.
So tell us what you find, what you think.
Yeah, let us know your thoughts.
We want to hear your perspective.
We do, because that's what these deep dives are all about.
It's about exploring together,
Ciao.
sharing our ideas.
It is. So until next time,
Keep those minds open.
keep thinking, keep exploring.
We'll be back with another topic soon.
Another deep dive.
Ready to break it all down with you.
Absolutely.
It's been a journey, hasn't it? Through those collapsed tunnels.
It has. It has.
We've talked about Stallone and those practical effects.
Yeah.
And bravery and redemption.
Mm.
It's 96, right? It gives us this unique look at how disaster movies have changed over time.
It really does. So now we want to hear from you.
Yeah. What stood out to you?
Well, what really connected with you in Daylight? Was it the action? Was it Latura and his journey to, like...
Right. His personal struggle.
Yeah, redeem himself.
Or the effects. Those amazing practical effects.
Yeah, that really stood out.
So real. You
Yeah.
know? Almost nostalgic now.
Tell us. We want to know. And here's something else to think about as
Yeah.
you're watching, or even if you decide to check it out. How have disaster movies changed since 96?
Think about the special effects. Daylight was all about practical,
Tangible.
real danger.
Yeah.
But now it's all CGI.
Right? It's all about the spectacle.
Bigger, bolder.
More, more, more.
Yeah.
Right.
So has our appetite for destruction changed? Do we want more?
Do we need more?
Or do we still crave that connection to reality
Right, that grit.
that you get from those practical effects?
Yeah, like a real threat.
Yeah, something that feels real.
But it's not just the visuals, right?
No, the storytelling's evolved too.
Yeah. Are disaster movies today more about the characters?
Do they dig deeper into the human impact?
Yeah, like what does it do to the people who survive these things?
Right. Or is it still all about the spectacle and surviving?
That's a good question. It's something to think about
It is.
when you watch Daylight through a modern lens.
It makes you think about how we view disaster now.
It's true. It's like holding up a mirror.
To ourselves, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe watching Daylight is like,
A fun experiment.
yeah,
Watch it. Then watch a newer disaster movie.
okay.
And compare them.
Yeah.
What's different? What's the same?
Yeah.
Has our idea of a good disaster movie changed?
I like it. It's like a little case study.
Yeah, yeah. And you might appreciate those practical effects even more.
Oh, absolutely.
After seeing what we do now.
Yeah, that Stallone swagger.
That old school action
Yeah,
hero.
maybe Daylight is like a gateway
Oh, I like that.
to the whole disaster movie genre.
A gateway to disaster.
Past and present.
Explore it all.
So let us know
What you think.
what you discover.
We want to hear your thoughts.
Because these deep dives, it's about exploring these things together.
Yeah, it's a conversation.
It is.
Your insights make it even better.
They do. So until next time,
Keep those minds open.
keep exploring, keep those curiosity engines running.
We'll be back with another topic soon.
Another deep dive.
Ready to unpack it all with you?
Absolutely.